This may come as a shock to some, but I believe that there's a good movie in here somewhere. Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
Pretty please, with sugar on top.
I know I'm not the first person to say this, but this movie feels like it's about 10 years too late, or maybe 8 years. Having this movie take place in prequel form after her death kinda ruins the importance of it. That being said, I'm going to start this review off by saying something positive.
Get the fuck out of here! No, I cannot, it's serious!
I'm just as shocked as the rest of you. From the opening credits until about 30 minutes into this movie, I really felt like they were onto something. If I personally was going to make a Black Widow movie, I would focus on her origins. I would want to see her initiation into this underground spy world. That to me would have been a really cool movie. And they kind of do that in a opening credits montage that is honestly very effective. I wish they would have spent more time on that time in her life, but I'll take what I can get. This movie starts out like it's going to be a dark and gritty spy tale with a little bit of revenge thrown in. You basically have a situation where little girls are being forced into this spy program against their will. I thought that this movie was channeling its inner Winter Soldier. I mean, you have the Taskmaster hunting down rogue agents, Terminator style. We have two estranged surrogate sisters coming together for the first time, and there's some animosity between them that they clearly need to work out. For a moment, I thought it was heading in the right direction and that we were going to get something a little bit different.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
But sooner rather than later, those old Marvel tropes reared their ugly head once again. I'm not exactly sure if there's some kind of mandate or something going on at Marvel Studios, but in every single movie that they make, they insist on breaking tense and dramatic moments up with forced comedy. I don't understand why they can't just let a serious moment play out naturally.
Haven't you ever heard of the healing power of laughter?
There's a moment in this movie where the subject of forced hysterectomies comes up, because that's what they do to girls in this Black Widow program. But they kind of play it off in a comedic way for some reason. I understand this is heavy stuff for a Disney movie, but if you're going to address it in this way, maybe just don't bring it up. That's some dark and evil shit, so I'm not really sure why they felt the need to joke about somebody's insides getting ripped out. It was just really awkward timing and not very effective at all.
Ha ha, very funny, motherfucker!
In fact, most of the comedy in this movie, if you want to call it that, didn't really get much of a reaction from the people in the theater, at least in the theater I was watching it in. And then we have David Harbour's Red Guardian character. This character is getting a lot of praise, and I love David Harbour. I think he was great in Stranger Things. His introduction in this movie, he starts out as kind of a badass, just arm wrestling people in prison. But as soon as he breaks out and he joins back up with Natasha and her sister, he quickly just becomes a buffoon. In fact, a bumbling Russian idiot is probably the best way to describe him. Full disclosure, I'm not totally familiar with the character of Red Guardian in the comics, but I'm not quite sure that he was represented in this movie properly, and that has nothing to do with David Harbour who's playing him, but his whole existence just seems to be for comedy relief.
Funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
Speaking of poor representation, I have to mention Taskmaster, the villain of this movie that has pretty much split Black Widow watchers right down the middle. From my perspective, saying that the character is underutilized is actually a bit of an understatement. In fact, I would say that if you're a fan of the character in the comics, you should most likely prepare yourself to be disappointed. Not only is he a pretty one-note villain and also pretty forgettable, they make one very huge change to his character that is unfortunately becoming all too common in modern Hollywood, and I think you know what I'm talking about without getting into spoilers. And this is where the weird stuff kind of starts with this movie.
No shit.
The final act of this movie is basically a women's liberation movement, which makes sense considering the story that they're trying to tell, but it does come off a little bit preachy. In typical modern cinema fashion, it's not very subtle, and it's kind of in your face what they're trying to say. It's pretty much as blunt as the villain in this movie punching Natasha in the face repeatedly, or him claiming that he's taken advantage of the world's biggest resource, that being women. Yeah, a lot of this shit is really on the nose. I also have to mention that there's a lot of name dropping in this movie, both of the Avengers as a whole and individual members. It comes off like they're desperately trying to convey to the audience that this is in fact a prequel. Like, I guess they don't expect the audience to be smart enough to pick up on that, I guess. Bottom line is that this movie feels like a bunch of different movies stitched together from different parts. I noticed this in Endgame and it continues here. The first 30 minutes or so are dramatic and dire and actually feel like something significant is going on. And then after that, it kind of reverts back to the same Marvel formula. I wanted this to be a unique experience that does the character of Black Widow justice because she is a very cool character. But ultimately, it feels like more of the same.
Because it's all part of the plan.
There's lots of over-the-top action sequences that look good but have zero stakes. They undermine what could have been a dark and emotional story with forced comedy. And even Scarlett Johansson, who I would say is a great actress, it doesn't seem like she's all in on this movie for some reason. Maybe that's because even to her the story feels a bit tacked on. Or perhaps, like most of us, she feels like it's too little too late for this character, and that this movie should have happened a very long time ago.
That makes sense.
Black Widow didn't incite much of a reaction out of me, so for that reason, I'm going to give it the Careless Sam Gerard.
I don't care!
So have you seen Black Widow? If you have, let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time right here on Real Shift. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Y'all be cool. Shut up.